welcome back to another true crime video. This week I'm going to be telling you about a very well-known killer. Well, the killer isn't known, spoiler, but a very well-known case, and that is the Zodiac, also known as the serial killer that vanished without a trace. Let me take you back to Northern California in the late 1960s. It's the era of flower power, psychedelic rock, and peace protests. But while most people were chasing love and liberation, something terrifying was lurking in the shadows. A killer. Not just any killer. One that craved attention, taunted the police, and turned murder into their own twisted game. And he liked to call himself the Zodiac. But to this day, nobody knows who it was. It all started on December 20th, 1968. David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen were just two teenagers out on a date. They were parked on a quiet road in Benicia. And the sad fact is, they never made it home that night. Because somebody walked up to their car and shot them. Execution style. There were no suspects, no witnesses, just two kids dead in the dark. We're going to fast forward to July 4th, 1969, Independence Day in America. And another couple, Darlene Ferrin and Michael Magu, were sitting in their car at Blue Rock Springs Park. And suddenly, out of nowhere, a random man walks up to their car with a flashlight and just starts shooting. Sadly, Darlene didn't survive, but Michael did. He had some very bad injuries, but he somehow managed to survive the Zodiac Killer. And after this situation, the phone call happened. The killer called the police himself, calm, matter of fact, and confessed. He even said, "I was the one that killed those kids last year too." So this phone call was no random act. This was planned. A month later, newspapers in the Bay Area got a letter. Actually, 3 papers got the exact same letter. Handwritten, full of all these little weird details that only the killer would know. Not even the victims, only the killer. And here's the twist. Each of these letters all came with a part of a cipher, a message in code. And the Zodiac said himself that if anybody could crack it, they'd know his identity. Like, if you can work this out, I'm found. And spoiler, the cipher was cracked, not by the police, but by a school teacher and his wife. And it said, "I like killing people because it's so much fun." Is it just me, or are these letters kind of written very simply? Like, obviously, like, it's a cipher and you need to crack it and all that stuff. So that part in itself is very intense and intellectual. Is that the right word? Intellectual? Is that the right word? Probably not. Anyway, but once you've cracked it and you've figured out what it actually says, it's kind of worded very simply. Like, "I like killing people because it's so much fun." It's nothing like another riddle. Do you know what I mean? It's very, there you go. But if you remember what I said like 2 minutes ago, he said that if you were able to crack it, you'd know who I was. But it has been cracked. And his identity? It was nowhere in there. He was just messing with everyone. Now things get even weirder. In September 1969, a couple was just relaxing by Lake Berryessa when they were attacked. Out of nowhere. The man, again, survived, but his girlfriend didn't. At this point, okay, he's attacked a normal couple that he doesn't know. That's the same as the other ones. But this is where it's different and, I want to say, a little bit more sinister. This time, the killer wore a full-blown executioner's hood. Literally like something out of a horror movie. With a creepy crosshair symbol on his chest. He managed to get them and tie them up and then stabbed both of them. But he didn't just leave straight after this. He had to do one more thing. He went over to their car and drew the exact same symbol on the hood of their car that was on his chest. Oh, and he signed it. He didn't want anybody else taking credit for this. He wanted everyone, he wanted the police to know that this was the Zodiac. He signed it as if he was an artist finishing off a painting. He wanted credit. Just a couple of weeks after this incident, he strikes again. We are now in a San Francisco neighborhood where the Zodiac decides to shoot a cab driver. Only this time, there were witnesses. Quite a few kids saw the killer through their window, but the Zodiac slipped away. Now you might be thinking, he signed the last one. He owned up to the two before. Why is he just walking away from this one? Like, does he not want credit for this? What? Later on, the newspaper received another letter, and inside it was a piece of the cab driver's bloody shirt. This was his proof. His way of saying, yep, that was me.
If you don't come play with us, then we will kill you.
The taunts just don't stop. They carry on for the next year. The Zodiac keeps writing letters, bragging, mocking the police, sending new ciphers, some of which still haven't been cracked. He says that he's killed about 37 people, but there's only 5 that have been confirmed as definitely his. He even threatened to shoot the tires of a school bus and pick off the kids one by one. Like, that is pure terror. But then after all of that, silence. He just vanished. After 1974, the letters stopped. No more killings that we know of. No more messages, just radio silence. Like, the most famous unidentified serial killer in the US, gone. Poof. Just into thin air. So now, like, who was he? That was the question everybody had at the time, obviously. And still, this many years later, everybody's still like, who was the Zodiac Killer? They've even made movies about it. There were tons of suspects over the years. The most famous one to date was Arthur Lee Allen, who was a creepy guy who matched some of the details, and even had a Zodiac brand watch with the same crosshair symbol. But the DNA didn't match. The handwritten letters, not a match for his handwriting either. Arthur Lee Allen died in 1992, and nothing ever proved that he was the guy. Fast all the way forwards to 2021, a team of cold case investigators pointed to someone new. Gary Francis Post. They had photos, scars, hidden messages, all kinds of circumstantial stuff. But again, police never confirmed it. And officially, the case is still open. I think it's fair to say that, I don't really want to say it, but the Zodiac Killer has kind of left a legacy. Don't come for me for that. Is that a bad thing to say? I don't know. But I say this because the Zodiac case changed the way police and media deal with serial killers. It's inspired books, movies, conspiracy theories, and a lot of people on Reddit. Also, like, YouTube videos. Like, there's tons of YouTubers and, like, true crime storytellers telling the story. And there's still people trying to crack those ciphers, like, to crack the codes. Like, even in 2020, over 50 years later, 50? Over 50. Jesus, that's a long time. One of his ciphers was finally cracked. It said, "I hope you're having lots of fun trying to find me. I am not afraid of the gas chamber." Once again, I'm going back to what I said before. It's kind of written simply. Like, it's like a child, not like a child wrote it, but it's like you're talking to a child. Kind of adds to the whole, like, taunting stuff. Like, I'm above you. Like, you're never gonna catch me. Is this a fun little game for you? I could be reading too much into it, but that's just my take. There's still people trying to crack the others. Like, people aren't giving up on them. And the really scary fact is that as long as his true identity stays a secret, the Zodiac's game isn't really over. Like, he's still playing with everyone. This was a very rapid storytelling of the case, and I can't really go into too much detail about it because they haven't got that many details, because obviously they don't know who it is, and because the only people that were really involved in the situation are either dead or the killer, that they don't know who it is. They can't get that many more details. But the movie The Zodiac, with Robert Downey Jr., Jake Gyllenhaal, Mark Ruffalo, all that good stuff, really does give you a good idea of the situation, so I really recommend you go and watch that film. Top tier. But yes, I finally decided to film this video about the Zodiac because, like many others, it's, I don't want to say it, but it's fascinating to just imagine trying to crack one of those ciphers. Imagine cracking one of those ciphers. I feel like it's like the real life Jigsaw. You know how, if you ever seen the Saw films, it's like he cuts out like a jigsaw piece and so people know that was Jigsaw. Obviously, I'm not saying that the Zodiac was doing all that behind stuff, putting people in games, but I mean in terms of taunting the police, letting the police and the public know that one was me, and you'll never know me. Anyways, enough babbling on. I hope you enjoyed, and I do want to do more videos about more well-known cases, because obviously the well-known ones, there's a lot of facts and juiciness. I will be back next week with a brand new true crime video, and I hope I will see you there.